much for sharing your Wednesday night with me. This is AfroEconomics Live. I'm JB Bryan, President and Chief Investment Officer of JB Bryan Financial Group, my registered investment advisory firm. I started in 1995, y'all. Yeah, when I was just a little girl. Yep. Right, Ms. Hayes? Just a little girl. And then AfroEconomics is a creation out of JB Bryan Financial Group. AfroEconomics is based on 10 key principles, and Wednesday nights allows us to focus on them. And we pretty much, y'all, we cover them all the way from generational wealth, our first legacy principle, down to Black health, Black wealth, and determination. And tonight, I guess it falls in our knowledge, just expanding our knowledge, key principle of Afroeconomics, because tonight I want to just talk about history, economic history, and the different economic phases that the U.S. economy that impacts us so much. But I think that a big part of what we have discovered now is that it's not really just us. I mean, you can see how just with this virus, how something can start so far away and can get to another place so quickly, just like how we do business now, right? We have to think of the global economy, our world economy, not just the US economy, not just my street economy. That's what I love about, technology, because now we have members who are not just wherever I happen to be working at that time. We have members and participants that are everywhere. If you choose to be in Nigeria and participate, as long as you can get the time zone right, you can be right here with us. That's the technology, and that's what allows us to do that. But technology also gives us access to information that really we probably took for granted, like, probably around 2007, 2008. We might not have been aware of what was happening around us. But I remember, just feeling the impact of everything slowing down in 2006, 2007. And I believe that businesses that are on the ground level, like that, we are right here in tune with the customer. We see what's happening and we see what's coming more than any other business, because a lot of businesses are, totally disconnected, like, because especially when you're talking about the president, the president of many companies, they don't have any interaction with their actual customer quite often. Like even our politicians, once they get on a certain level, they're not even spending a lot of time with you in your town. They might not even know what's going on with you. So if we see, and I think I've seen that a lot, like going back to like politics, I've seen that over and over. Like people will say, focus on your local politicians and the difference that you can make. And if you think about that economically, that your day-to-day interaction with businesses creates the economy that we enjoy. But we just don't, think of that. But when you start pulling back on what you're spending your money on, and most importantly, when you start spending back when pulling back on what you go into debt for, because when people go into debt and you're pulling out the credit cards and things like that, you're basically saying that you think you're going to have your job for a long time. Like people go and finance things because they really feel like, I'm going to be able to pay for that. You think that I'm going to have this job for a long time, right? But when people stop doing that, then it's because they're not quite sure. And it's called consumer confidence. So you'll hear these words on the news and we're like, what does it have to do with you? What are they talking about? And I think that the important thing, or the most significant thing that I can do with AfroEconomics, is to make sure that we are getting down to the nitty gritty and understanding how we impact the economy and how things that are going on impact you. So let's look at this. This is an article in this newspaper article, or it was online. I don't even know if they print newspapers anymore. Yeah, I guess they do. The Economic Policy Institute wrote this article May 15th, 2019, about the Great Recession, education, race, and home ownership. Now, what was the Great Recession? Like you lived through it, because all of you are adults. You lived through it. 2007, ended early 2009, the end of 2018 months, thereabout. That's the Great Recession, when it was considered slow, that the economy and spending and unemployment, everything slowed down. So look at this. The net worth of the typical household plunged 40%, or about $50,000, as a result of the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. So a depression is a recession on steroids, because that lasted a long time. So this says, look at this. Of course, these detrimental effects were not felt equally by all groups. Relative to white wealth, Black wealth was hit especially hard by the Great Recession. Blacks saw their median net worth fall precipitously compared with whites. That is in percentage terms, not in absolute terms, meaning it fell a lot. So between 2005 and 2009, the median net worth of Black households dropped by 53%, while white households' net worth dropped by 17%. It's not me. Christopher and Derek wrote this. This is telling us, about what happened in 2007, 2008, 2009. And look, it writes on to tell us about how hard it is for us to recover. And then look at this. I just want to just pull out. So we find that long-standing racial disparities in home ownership have worsened in the post-recession recovery. Second, we find that the Great Recession left Black college graduates facing enhanced barriers in the housing market. So it's saying that research by Hamilton finds that Black households headed by college graduates have less wealth than Black households headed by someone who dropped out of high school, something we've seen before in research. We keep getting hit with this over and over. But yet, unfortunately, we're told too many times we shouldn't think about that thing. But when the majority are studying the economy, they're writing about it. This isn't us. This isn't a Black newspaper. This is a scholar writing about what's happening. Or not even a scholar, it's just writing about what happened. And this is what's real, what happened to us. And then discrimination in lending and housing markets and initial wealth itself are playing an increased and racially uneven role in the manner in which college-educated Americans are acquiring new homes. Discrimination, and this is now. Disparities in home ownership rates. Why are they talking about this? Why are they talking about it when they talk about the Great Recession? Because businesses went out of business and things like that, but they're not even talking about how much wealth we lost from our businesses that went out of business. I had a lot of friends who went and got jobs that had businesses during that time. It was not an easy time for me to keep and stay the course, but I had to pull through. But I will always say that the only reason that this business still exists after going through that, because whatever you go through, I go through even worse. When we get hit, I get hit because I focus on you. So whatever we go through together. So, but what what is important is that I had to prepare. It was in early 2000s, where I started accumulating debt. I was never that person. But it was about 5 years in, I remember in 2004, where I said, this is ridiculous. So I guess at least it didn't take me that long to know that I would not be able to survive as a healthy business. There was no one that I would advise to do what I have begun to do. Because in that new millennium, they were sending out money like crazy. You would get a business loan in the mail. I mean, I remember one time getting $50,000. Now people are struggling to get $50,000 without leaving my desk. And this major financial institution just gave me $50,000 to my business just like that. And I was like, today, if that was going down, they'd be like, fill this out, fill that out, blah, 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 da-da-da. Like, here, how much more? What else do you want? Like, and I had to stop myself. I had to pay that off and pay off all the other stuff that they were just sending and sending and sending. I can show you research, and I'm going to show it to you, where there is a connection. And where I find I was like, because I love graphics. There is a connection between the increase in debt and the recession. Like you can see let me see, make this larger. Who's in this one? When you can see when consumer debts go up, then at the same time, that's when the economy, begins to go down. And U.S. changes in household debt as a percentage, homeowners, and then when homeowners decide to start, paying it down, it slows down the debt. But the more debt that we go in, the more it basically leads towards the recession. And then as we get into the recession, now I wanted to show it to you, but as we get in, here we go. It's because I go to like 20 different things and then I want to show y'all 20 different things. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to show you this. Great. So we go in and you'll see, here we are. Look, can you see my little arrow here? And then this in the orange, this in the blue. Let's say this is household debt in the blue. And look at how a household debt starts going up, going up, going up. You're like, and this is as we're heading to that. And look, in the financial business, look, they're just doing great. Financial business is making up such a huge rate of the GDP, gross domestic product. Financial business, it's huge. They're getting so much more financing, and we're buying all this stuff. And then boom, then we go, oh my goodness, I don't have a job. I can't pay for this stuff. So you don't have any choice. The debt situation goes down. And then you can be set up again because you stop and we catch on, you'll start getting those offers again. And I see it now, and I've seen it over those years and all those years, but when I really, really would have liked it in 2007, 2008, 2009, they're not sending any money through the mail. They're not doing anything for you when you need it. Now, all of a sudden, you're getting those offers, you're getting those checks again, right? You're getting all those things to come in. That's your warning sign. How you doing, Miss Davis? I'm so glad you came over this side. Come on over. Come on over. You on the right side. You let me know. You ready to come on camera with me? Let's talk about what we need to do to make sure that we prepare ourselves accordingly for what I see is ahead is something that I've seen before. I've seen this where we're spending. I see this. They sent out that stimulus check. I sent that. I see this. I think that the best thing that really has happened for us is that Trump is pushing for us to go back. Like he's pushing for this to end because it's not healthy for us to believe that the government is going to be able to take care of our needs. This stimulus is an attempt for the government to take care of their needs. They have to keep it going so that we can continue to have a place to work, so that we can continue to pay those taxes. So it's not as much about making sure that you can rest and get through this as it is that you got to get back because they need those taxes. They need that revenue coming in, and they don't want to pay the unemployment. And Lord knows they don't want to keep paying the extra $600 a week to everyone. Everyone. And if they do that, and they do it past July 15th, what is going to be the punishment? What is going to be the punishment for us getting that? What is going to be? What are we going to have to lose? Because it will happen. You know what I mean? It will impact us. Will it be you're not going to have a job, that we're not going to, have any housing protection, that we're not going to have any health care, because these are still the issue. Because to me, the issue that still is not addressed is that we need to have a livable wage. Everybody should be paid the livable wage for their area of this country. And we don't have to have the same minimum wage nationally because it costs more to live in New York than it costs to live in Ahoskie, North Carolina. But we need to have the appropriate livable wage for every place in this, and all over the world, but every place in this country. And that's what we need to be pushing for. But in addition to that, because we're in this political season, I want us as members of AfroEconomics that we have to start thinking livable wage in order for us to be able to survive through this recession. Because in reality, the unemployment is not paid out at a livable wage. That's why they have to add that money to it. That's why they're doing that. So also, I want to make sure that we, think about that a big part of a recession, the recession of 2007, 2008, 2009, they kept extending unemployment and extending unemployment and extending unemployment, that we still have people who are underemployed and have never been able to recover. Never been able to recover. So we were just starting to get jobs back, but the wages still, as we have studied, the salaries have not grown. Our salaries have not kept pace with even inflation. And a big part of that would be for us to at least have a higher livable wage instead of that minimum wage, which is outrageous. The minimum wage itself has not been adjusted properly for inflation. So we're looking at how do we make sure that if you don't have a job, if your job does end, if I'm not able to do this job? What do you do to defend yourself and prepare yourself? Because unemployment is a real issue. But as an entrepreneur, because I've had my own business through the Great Recession, unemployment is not the issue. So I challenge each of us to make sure that we think about what can you do to create your own income. Do not allow yourself to only rely on your job. I don't care how good a job you feel that you have, even if it's with the government, because the federal government will eventually have to cut this out. And they might have to cut it out by cutting down on their own employees. No, they're going to have to, recover from this. Look at this. Look at this. The Fed injects $1.5 trillion, $1.5 trillion into crashing markets to help out banks. Look at this. I mean, this is true. You make sure. I mean, look. This is why when someone says to you, that this capitalistic economy, it's just not good and this and that. We're not a capitalist country. This is not capitalism. I don't know what this is, but this isn't capitalism, because in capitalism, the government does not put money in order to save businesses. That's just not how it works. So we're just like faking like we're this business people. Like I was saying the other week, that we have all these people that are like put in front of us like they're so billionaires and everything, but they don't really tell us who is financing this or how they did this. Like I've even been told that basically the internet, and all these businesses that were able to get involved at the beginning, like Microsoft and all those, like they got in on the internet and the government financed that. So they were able to have access, to government contracts and government needs and government studies that they were able to use to build these businesses. And now they're billionaires about to get patents on vaccines to a virus. So this, don't believe the hype that, that this is not going to have, an impact on us. So the only way that I can see, because as the article I just read, economic article talking about how much this last recession impacted our community. It's wiped out our wealth, because we had so much of our wealth in real estate. Now there's almost no wealth now in our residential properties, and our communities did not recover completely from that. So, and then now it's down again. So what do we do? What do we do? We have to start our own businesses. We have to start our own skills. We have to start thinking about, what do I do in addition to this job that you may have? And I challenge you to think of something that is technology based, so that you don't have to go into any debt in order to do it. And I'm talking any debt, like not even borrow from the government. No debt. Just what can you do that you're talented to do, that you can generate income, so that even if you make $50, every time you do it, it's your $50. If you do consulting, if you know how to do a garden, if you go, start making videos on gardening tips, and then you do personal training on gardening tips, or personal coaching on cooking, or personal coaching on developing your career and things like that. I saw that girl from Robin Roberts. Like she's she's all over social media helping people to communicate and talking about speaking in front of people. Like, and she's on television and might not even know as much about speaking in front of people as you do. But she's popular, but you can become popular too. But you never saw what you do well as something that someone would pay for. And we have to stop doing that to ourselves. We have to see our value. So there are some key things I wanted to just bring out that from the over from 517 days I wrote down from 2007 to March of 2009. That's the Great Recession. The market fell over 56%. Home equity. Be very careful in thinking that your home should be your only investment. Your residential real estate is where you live, but it is not how you're going to generate wealth. It is just an easy way for us to save. And sometimes over time, it works out for you. But your residential real estate is just that. It is a debt. So the more debt that we go into, how much it costs for us to live, that's debt that adds to your expense. So take advantage of any opportunity that you can right now in order to reduce your housing expenses if you can. Keep them extremely manageable. Keep it manageable. This might not be the time to buy your mansion if you already have a nice home. It's like, but it could be. It's depending on your financial situation, and we would have to see that. But if you have to buy your $1.5 million mansion and you got to go into debt to do it, you don't want to be like a lot of superstars that die broke. You want to be that healthy superstar. Realize that the employment situation, could change. You may be unemployed or have family members that are unemployed, and they might not get a job for a while. Be careful with your debt. Be very careful with your debts. Notice that there's some major things that may happen. We have airlines that are having challenges. We have cruise lines that are having challenges. We have a lot of retail stores, unfortunately, that are closing, restaurants that are closing. All of those are places that people work. We have sports that are losing money, all the time. They've had to lay off people. We have to think about that. I was thinking about the other day, just like, how will this impact people who have been playing a sport their whole life and have been thinking about they want a scholarship? But then if the college sports, like, how will that impact them? Because, are they staying in shape? Will they still get the scholarship? What's going on? That's interesting. How will it impact, education in general? Where are we going from here? Especially, business productivity is down. If the earnings and the information for publicly traded companies, especially, it's going to start reflecting, because with people working from home, I'm going to tell you, the service is horrible. I have to call major companies all the time for clients, and these people working from home, it's getting on my nerve. And they know that their supervisor is not there, so they're carrying themselves accordingly. But what does that do? That impacts their earnings. Their stock prices will eventually go down and suffer for that. Business productivity is down. So then here's some things that I want to suggest. That we have a responsibility for us to get prepared. I have a responsibility for us to prepare us for, hopefully, everything is going to be great. But if a big part of why my stock market is relatively stable is because the government put in $1.5 trillion, then that's fake. That's fake. You know, that is fake. So we have to realize that we have to be in tune with the volatility that is created during a weak market that will be created if we continue to not see how we're going to get ourselves out of this and start showing strong economic numbers. How can that happen though? It cannot happen within the next quarter, you know? So how is it going to continue? Everything that we see, like, stock prices move higher based on future earnings potential. So what's going on? Why is it moving higher? Based on what future earnings potential? You're not getting the sales. Sales are down. People are unemployed. Businesses are closing. So come on. So we need to stay in tune with our financial goals. You have a long time between you and retirement. You don't have a long time between you and retirement. You need to be aware of the importance of diversification. If you have a long time between you and retirement, this is time to be investing, not to be spending. This is time for, us to just wake up to the fact that if I can't do this job, what else can I do? So what we have to do is invest in getting our skills up. Getting your skills up, like on finishing anything. If you always thought that you should do or have a particular, you've always thought about information systems and you're out of work. Now it's time to study information systems. Now it's time to find out what type of grants do they have out there? What type of support could you get in order for you to get that systems information now, to get that technical skill now, to get that security information now, to find out what you can get in order to to put yourself in a position to be needed or to create income for yourself, most importantly, to start your own. So focus on your business, focus on building up your services, focus on building up your skill, increasing your value as a person that wants a career. Like, so people that are leaving college this year, where are they going to work? How are they going to go do the interview? How did they do their resumes? Did they do career planning and placement? Like, what type of support is the college giving them? Okay, you got this and beautiful pictures all over social media, but what's next? We got to build a career. We have to do some stuff for our recent college grads. Like that, somebody tell me if you want to try to put something together for college grads, we really should. Like, we can have all the motivational speeches by Oprah and Denzel and, all the movie stars and everything. You can tell you can do it. But it's time for us to give them some solutions and some strategies on what they need to do to to create a career for them. I want you to keep your money. And more than anything else, you need to have an emergency fund. You know how much money that delivery company online, I'm not even going to give them a commercial, how much money they made when those checks came out? That $1,200. How can anybody that owes somebody spend money? Like where is your mind? Where did that mentality come from? I've been doing the Teen Academy and we finished it. And on their final exam, one of my questions was, what is your family's money mentality? Because I wanted them because that's where we get it from. That's where we get it from. Whatever we're doing, that's what our kids will do. If you're materialistic, your kids will become materialistic. They'll come materialistic even if you're not. So at least if you do the right thing, they will find their way back. They will find their way to the truth. But kids, it has been shown in research that being broke, that broke mentality is genetic, like it goes on, it's passed on. It can be inherited because they're getting their habits from you. They're getting it. So like this, we're going through this. This is time for us to communicate to the, to everyone that's looking at us, that I realize that the future is uncertain. I mean, and it really was last year also, but when we've talked about that, like, all you can depend on in life is change. So I feel that we always need to be putting ourselves in a prepared mode. And that's why we've always talked about having that emergency fund. Making sure that you have, if you don't have cash, you need to make sure that at least you have a credit card balance available. And this is a challenge for all of us. All of us. If anybody who's like acting like they know exactly what's ahead, they're just lying to themselves. So that's important, that you make sure that you protect them from themselves and you do the right thing. Keep your cash, keep your bills down. And I know that we need to have no debts, but right now, if you have a debt, it's not the time to take all your cash and pay it off. It's just not the time. I need you to build up that emergency fund. I need you to have the money available. And that's going to be a challenge. My strategy was that everybody who got a stimulus check need to hold on to it for 90 days to get into that mentality of delayed gratification. You get to 90 days, then you start getting comfortable with having money, because you have to remember that the average American cannot access $1,000 just like that. So immediately the government sending people that money, that made them have more money than the average American. And then they immediately started spending and they went back into average mode. So we have to realize that we need to, right, Mr. Randolph? I mean, Mr. Joe. That's funny. Mr. Joe, right? Indeed. That we have to make sure that we get into that mindset of having the cash available. That's what we can learn from Corona. That's all, because it's too late when I'm talking to you about this later. I want you to say, wow, thank you. Oh, JB, I'm so glad that we talked about that in May, because our November may look a lot different than June, because November is just about the time where you got to pay back. You got to pay back for everything that was given. Ms. Witherspoon said, young people need to refuse to continue that crazy work expectation we have. We need business that builds a capacity for work-life balance. That's true. I know nothing about it. Well, look, I told my daughter, I said, oh, look at all of the time that we've been able to spend together. She said, time we spend together? I said, yeah, we've been together. She was like, oh my God, we haven't spent it. I was like, oh girl, golly, your mom owns a business. Look, so look, work-life balance. Look, I feel that as a Black single parent that is pioneering, I have the right to continue to make sure that my child is okay. And look, and I am here with you. Look, at least we're together. But that was so, oh my goodness, she is so funny. I love that girl. But you could always depend on kids to like bring you right back in. But I was so like wondering if I tell her like, look at all the time we've had to spend together, if she was going to get me on that. But work life, balance is such a funny thing, because if I say, I want you to start your business, I want you to start a business, Larry, I want you to focus on, having that business, then, and you're working and you got the business and you got the family, it's going to be real hard. And that's one of the things that are challenging for us as a people who were brought, like, we don't have, like, you know what I'm saying? We don't have a legacy of long-term money. So it has to start with us. See, because when you're born and you have money, like, I had to start my business with only what I had. Now here, a 20-something-year-old girl starting a business with what she has and her Visa card. Now, so, like, if I was from a different setting, then maybe I would have had like $100,000 that had been set aside for me and this and this and that, but that it wasn't like that. And it's not like that for most of us. So the work-life balance is making sure that you take care of your responsibilities for your family. For most of us, spend as much time as you can with your family, but you better pay them bills, because your family and your little work-life balance won't be so good if you can't pay them bills. No, it just doesn't. So, and I just feel like we're lying to ourselves if we feel like you're going to be able to do everything. That I have to be very conscious of whom I spend my time with. Right, Mr. Fenner? Yeah, Mr. Fenner's like, yes, ma'am. We have to be very conscious of who is talking in your head. My man never says you work too hard, you're doing too much, you can't do that, you so-and-so. Never. And I've been there. But where I am, I get encouragement. And that's what we need. That's your work-life balance. That when someone knows that you have a mission, you have a responsibility, you're trying to protect your family, you're trying to protect your community, they gotta help you. They gotta help you. So I guess Ms. Witherspoon, what I'm saying is hey, work-life balance, is unique and it goes to, everyone. But I just know that there's a whole bunch of broke people who have work-life balance all out of balance. They're just all about enjoying things, and don't have no money. And that's not good either. So it's we have to be very careful about that, especially us, because we have to we got to grind. So land versus commercial real estate. The Sharon asked, land versus commercial real estate. What do you have? What we're talking, what you have to think about with any investment, is one of the most, and everything about me, y'all know, is about risk and understanding what your risk tolerance is and how the risk of what you're thinking about investing. One of the most risky investments that you could have is raw land. So raw land versus commercial real estate, they're not even on the same, raw land versus, I don't know, a private island or something like that, or an island versus inland versus land on the water, but then I would be easy. But to versus commercial real estate, there's no comparison. Commercial real estate, is on a whole nother level. You just have to make sure you're doing the right commercial real estate, and that what you're trying to accomplish with it, why you're buying it, how it's going to work for you, what type of income you can create from it, or what kind of value are you trying to just get it so you can flip it, or are you going to keep it so you can make income from it? What type of businesses do you anticipate? Just some questions. But with land, you got a whole bunch more questions, because it's first, what you going to do with it, right? So I always say, when people say, oh my, I should have never sold that family land. The problem is not that you sold the land. The problem is, what did you do with the money that you got for the land? So if you sold the land and you got $10,000 100 years ago, and you put it in the, just a basic S&P, you would never say you regret, selling the land, because that land might still be there in the back of the woods somewhere. So it's about what we do with our money, or you might have that land, some big hotel come around and they go, this is the spot, and the land really work out, or it can work out the other way when nobody wants it. So, but those are the type of things that we talk about during your membership. When you sign up for membership, we go through all those types of things, and you have a resource. And when you sign up for membership, that I am helping you. And so when you're on the financial planning level, that's why I do that minimal fee, because I have to make sure that I can help everybody. If everything was free, You know what I mean? And I couldn't help everybody. So the stuff that's free is we do bulk. But when you want personalized attention, you deserve it. So we just invest a little bit in it. Like Miss Davis. What did Miss Davis say? Work-life balance for me is what works for my family. I know that's right. It may not work for others, but it is unique for everyone's situation. I know that's true. We have a member of AfroEconomics, and she worked at night, and she had a daughter. To me, that was terrifying. Do you know that girl, her daughter, never did anything wrong? She left her daughter at home alone all those years, like, all the time. Now she's grown, but she stayed in there. And I've known them a while now, and I used to be so scared, like, oh my goodness, I wonder how this is going to turn. She's like, oh no, and da-da-da. When she wake up, she would be back home. But but she is a very mature young lady, and very responsible, and in college now, and so like Ms. Davis said, it has to be about what your unique situation. And I believe it. Like, I believe there'll be a time where my daughter will say, like, wow, like, she'll be starting her own business, and she'll be like, that's what mom was doing, and this and this, that, because there's things from my father's life that I live through now, like his passion, his dream that he had for his work. And he always wanted to be a Black college president, and he did that. And at our last conversation, one of our last conversations was talking about his living his dream. I mean, on his deathbed, he was talking about, I was a Black college president for 2 colleges, and I would have been a president for more, but I didn't have time, and this and this and that. Like, he was talking, and I say, I know, and I only started because I said, Dad, I gotta go to a meeting, and then that was our last conversation. But that convinced me that it's a lie when people tell you that you'll regret that you worked. My dad did not regret. I have never regretted ever helping you. That is it, and it has never taken away, from my desire to love and be there for my daughter. It has allowed me to do that. Anytime she's ever needed, I can get up and go. No, I have to go ask the supervisor, this and that. I say, oh, I have to go. Period. Take care. So that is, a blessing. Everything has a give and a take, right, Angela? Indeed. There'll be one day she said, she said, Mom, remember in kindergarten we used to come to my cello practice every week? Because they would have it in the middle of the day. And I said, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I want my child to learn to play cello. So at her school, they made the parent come, and I would leave the office. Here I am, my little 5-year-old, and we're taking the cello lesson in the middle of the day, and then we have lunch. You know what I'm saying? So she will one day appreciate that maybe I did, have a lot of calls, but I was there every time you needed me. Thank God. And that is because of having my own business. And I have heard people, say that. And I had a nursery in my office. So we're probably so close for reasons that she doesn't even know, because I was able to keep her in my office with me until her nanny said it's time for her to go to school at 3.5. I was mad. I was like, lady, just take this money. She was like, no, I think she needs to go be around other kids. I would have had her, like, she'd still be homeschooling if I had a choice. But business, your own business will give you that flexibility to have the nursery in your office, to have the nanny there, to have those things, so everything is a give and a take. Right, Rosita? Everything. How you doing, Ms. White? So I think my key points for us today is that we are in a time of economic uncertainty. So what I want us to focus on is avoiding debt, keeping cash as much as possible, not in your house. It can be in your checking account. It can be in the bank. But I found that to be interesting, when when it first all of this went down with COVID and banks started sending out like limitations on what you could deposit and what you could withdraw and stuff like that. So I do think it's important for us to keep cash on hand. Cash is king, especially during bad times. So you don't have to keep a whole lot, but keep what you feel comfortable with available to you at the house and put the other part into your insured banking account. Continue to invest systematically, putting money in each month for you that are accumulating money. Those who have money and are depending on your money for income, it is very important that you speak with me or your financial advisor if you're not with me. You speak with them about your portfolio and the risks that you're exposed to. Do it now. And then it's important that we increase our value in ourselves. You know, I'm constantly taking classes. I spent the last 4 days in classes. I'm constantly in continuing my education because it is important for us to always have more to offer. And my final point is that I want us to focus on building our own businesses, building our own services, building our confidence, you know, and building additional source of income and using technology to maximize it and to increase your exposure and to meet more people. You know, use the technology that's available to us. Ask more questions. Don't give up on yourself. You know, ask more questions. Find out what's out there. All we need to do is just slow down a little bit. You know, because sometimes it's like, oh, it just seems so overwhelming when you're trying to do something new or look at something new. But just slow down a little bit. Focus on what you're trying to accomplish. Use the resources that are out there for you. There's so much information on YouTube. Use me as a resource, especially for entrepreneurship. I have so many more people signing up for entrepreneurship membership. I love it, you know, but you need to use an entrepreneur. There's not a lot of our businesses that have existed since 1995. I can tell you about a lot of different conditions that my business has had to go through. You know, next week, again, we're going to have James Lindsay, the president of Rap Snack, is going to be coming in. He's going to be in one of these squares. Who's there, him and Wise Intelligent, who is head of the foundation for Rap Snack, that they are coming out with Stock Boss Up app. And they want our AfroEconomics empowerment videos and knowledge on the app. And I want you to meet them and I want to help them as much as I can, you know what I mean, with their business idea. We have to help each other. If we don't, like, who's going to help us if we don't help each other, right? Hey, Sharon. I don't know if you were asking me a question or you were just saying amen. That's Keith. Keith said, we need to be careful of those who are trying to get people to use the equity in your home to live off now as a reverse mortgage. I know that's right. Tell them, Keith. And I bet there are, especially in our neighborhoods, going through, like, and I was telling someone today, I said, you have to be very careful with refinancing, because even if the interest rate is lower, you have to be conscious of the loan amount and everything else that's going to be changing and how long it's going to take for you to recover. So I can help you with those things. Thank you for bringing that up, Keith. We have to do this, and be very careful. Don't tell me after you do something. Let me help you before you do it. Yes, indeed. And remember, and I want to also point out something. I was reading the article today, because you might know yesterday was Malcolm X's birthday. And then let's make sure we talk about that, Sharon. I'm licensed. I cannot give out information like that over the internet. But yeah, I'm not sure who you are. But if you're a member of AfroEconomics, that's the kind of stuff we talk about in the meetings. But you need to be a full financial planning member. And then we can talk about specific stocks and give you advice. but I'm a registered I'm an investment advisor. So if I would do something foolish like that, you would not see JB in a while. So but let me tell you this, like so what Malcolm X was being interviewed, and he was being interviewed, and the reporter was like, have you ever thought about the way people see you, and what they think about you, and what do you say about these people who say these horrible things? And he said, I am the man you think you are. I am the man you think you are. And that is so powerful, because I remember my father telling me, he said, people always think that you will do what they would do given the situation. So when, like, when people will look at you and they'll think something negative of you because that's what they would do if they were in that situation. So of course they think the worst, unfortunately. But if you're a good person and a good man and a good woman, I will see good in you. And that's what I see in you. So as he said, I am the man you think you are. I am the woman you think you are. Like, but that was so powerful. So remember, as we judge one another, or you feel that someone else is judging you, that they just think whatever they think of you is what they think of themselves. So I think very highly of myself, and that's why I think so highly of you. God bless y'all. Have a wonderful week. Don't forget, next week we got superstars coming. Yes, indeed. I appreciate you, Shavon. Look at you, Bridget. I appreciate you all so much. Make sure that you check this out on the YouTube channel. I'll have it up there eventually. Eventually, I will post this up later tonight, I'm sure. I always say eventually, and then I can't rest without getting it up. Thank you. I'm JB Bryan, President and Chief Investment Officer of JB Bryan Financial Group, the home of AfroEconomics, #AfroEconomics.